Welcome back. A history lesson woven in the threads of classic American style. Preppy meets Black culture in the clothing line Be Blunt. We meet the founder and designer of the emerging brand. A designer steeped in hip-hop and streetwear culture returns to her roots, bringing classic American luxury and history to closets.
Always been a big fan of fashion. My mom, my grandmother, my great aunts have always been an inspiration to me of just what the epitome of sophistication has been. And as a kid, I always knew I was going to be in fashion in some way, and my journey in the corporate world has been through fashion and the sports side.
Portia Blunt, the former senior vice president of global product for Reebok, now taking her passion for design in a different direction with Be Blunt, a classic all-American clothing line that celebrates Black history and culture.
For me, that prep style is classic American style, and that is really the bread and butter for me. Like, that's my own personal style.
Blunt is using clothes to celebrate the legacy of Black people in America.
Being a Black woman in this country, I want to be able to tell the story of my heritage, of my culture. And the beauty of what I do, I'm able to engage and tell these beautiful stories of triumph, of resilience, of beauty, of joy through something that is common and an equalizer that people can all understand.
Each piece is named for historic figures and places, some well-known and others a piece of hidden history.
First stories were around Black business leaders like Madam C.J. Walker. One of our first sweaters paid homage to her beautiful estate, Villa Lawaro. And then we moved on to Ann Lowe as a fashion designer. She is kind of like the icon in terms of American couturier. And so telling these stories within kind of my journey and things that really kind of resonated with me.
Ann Lowe's name may not be familiar to everyone, but she once dressed the highest levels of society and was the designer and maker of the dress Jacqueline Bouvier wore in her wedding to John F. Kennedy.
We told a story around the Warmly Hotel, which was the first Black-owned luxury hotel in the country in 1871. And who knew? I mean, it's just amazing stories of perseverance and grit that I think everyone will be encouraged to celebrate.
Black excellence resonates through the naming and legacy of the Be Blunt label.
This year we're telling lots of stories about Black education, the legacy of HBCUs, but even before HBCUs, there was a legacy of Black boarding schools that no one really talks about that's pretty important. So when we talk about Piney Woods, it's the oldest operating boarding school for Black kids in this country. And that story should be told and revered and celebrated.
Using fashion for social causes isn't new to Portia. During her tenure at Reebok, she championed partnership with social advocacy organization Global Citizen.
It's really important for me to want to tell these stories about Black education because there's so much erasure happening, whether it's intentional or just a byproduct of the environment. And when you see the legacies of HBCUs, that's a byproduct of survival. That's a byproduct of not having access to other means of education. And that is the beauty of Black culture. We always find a way.
Blunt finding her own way to closets and with the goal of making her style of Americana as ubiquitous as Ralph Lauren.
We have our seasonal shop on Martha's Vineyard, but the ultimate goal would be to go on Newbury Street and shop Be Blunt, to go to Washington, D.C. or Madison Avenue and shop Be Blunt. So that's the long-term goal, and it takes all of us as a village to make that happen. But we're excited. This is a beginning of a long-term journey and a dream realized.
Part of that dream came true last year when Be Blunt showed on the runways of New York Fashion Week, something Portia called a bucket list experience. From city lights to island views, the support of the community has uplifted the brand. Portia was greeted by lines out the door during her first pop-up store on Martha's Vineyard last summer.
Martha's Vineyard is by far the most magical place on earth and my favorite place on this earth. And so it's really special. It is not lost on me the privilege that I have to have a store on the vineyard. But the vineyard is so special because it is an island chocked with stories, chocked with heritage, and in particular Black heritage. And so when you walk on Circuit Avenue in Oak Bluffs and you see somebody wearing a B. Blunt sweater, I'm floored. I have to pinch myself.
Yeah, she's fabulous. Portia is currently designing something that will drop in time for the Met Gala in May. The theme, Tailored for You, is a nod to the exhibition Superfine, Tailoring Black Style. Up next, it's an anthem for the ages, but the story behind the hit may be even more powerful. When you sing that now, what does it mean for you?
At the beginning, it was all about survival, but now I'm thriving. I'm thriving.
Yeah, this music icon means that literally. I sat down with the legendary singer Gloria Gaynor, the story you may not know about the iconic tune that changed her life forever, her very personal connection to the biggest song of her career, and what's changed when she sings it now.